This television and video recorder are the only luxuries Mohammed Arif has. He lives in a small 9-square-meter simple hut in northern Pakistan. Arif once had a family and a job and was happy, but then as a young adult, he was kidnapped by 3 men. They put something over my head, and I lost consciousness. When I regained my senses, I had no idea where I was. They brutalized me over and over again. I remember that to this day. They held him captive for more than 20 years. He worked up to 16 hours a day in a quarry like this one. Breaks were not allowed. Anyone who sat down was beaten by the guards. But he remembers that the nights were even worse than the days. At night, they would lock us up and put us in chains. They threw food at us that you wouldn't even give to dogs. It was barbaric. That's how I spent my life there, with no contact to the outside world. Arif was also unable to contact his wife, Shamim Bibi. She spent several years desperately trying to find her husband. Eventually, she gave up, thinking he was dead, and so she looked for a new husband. We searched everywhere for him, called all the hospitals, but at some point we had no strength left. It had been 10 years. The children were still small, and I needed someone to take care of them. According to UN figures, between 600 and 800,000 people are victims of trafficking every year. In Pakistan, officially documented cases have declined in recent years, but the crimes still continue to this day. In Pakistan, this happens mostly in remote areas, where there is hardly any infrastructure and a lack of education. The perpetrators then kidnap people and receive a reward. Most of the times, the victims are put to work. As fate would have it, Mohammed Arif is still hauling stones and manages to scrape by doing this work. At least he's no longer doing it as a slave laborer, because one morning he decided to jump off the boat that took him and the other men to work. I jumped into the water and started swimming. Then they shot at me, but I was lucky and they didn't hit me. For hours I kept swimming. At some point I dared to get out of the water. It was night, but I made it to the next village where they helped me. A few years ago, he came back to his home village of Haripur. He still suffers from the trauma of that time. To this day, he has not found a way to regain his life.